Hey, come see us do live shows January 3rd in Los Angeles, Honolulu after that, Baltimore, Maryland, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. So Israel closed down their embassy in Ireland. Israel's foreign minister accused, I don't know how to say that guy's name, Taoiseach Simon Harris on Monday of anti-Semitism. Of course. As he defended Israel's decision to close its embassy in Dublin over Ireland's policies.
Regarding corned beef, probably, right? They both have they clash over that.
I think so. And here is the Prime Minister of Ireland, and here's what he had to say about them closing their embassy.
I'd respectfully suggest that possibly because it works as a distraction. You're all here today asking me about Ireland's position. What about Israel's actions? What about what Netanyahu is doing to the innocent children of Gaza? This is the diplomacy of distraction. And I think it is deeply regrettable that they took that decision. They have every right to take that decision to close the embassy. I'd rather it didn't happen. We will continue to engage diplomatically. But nobody's going to silence Ireland. I believe in freedom of speech and people are entitled to articulate their views, but they're not entitled to have an alternative set of facts. What's happening in the Middle East, what's happening in Gaza is extraordinarily serious. I mean, Ireland's position has been clear on this from day one. We want to see the release of all hostages, absolutely. We condemned the horrific terrorist attack by Hamas on Israel, 100%, absolutely, a horrific terrorist attack. But we also know that there are innocent children who are dying.
Okay, they're not dying, they're being murdered, they're being slaughtered. So that's
dead.
That's my one quibble with what he's saying here. The children of Gaza aren't dying, they're being murdered and they're being starved. As a weapon of war. They're blocking aid from getting in. Okay, back to this guy.
Who are being maimed, who are suffering in a way that I'm not sure the whole world can yet even fully comprehend.
They can't comprehend it.
And get into Gaza. There is humanitarian aid that isn't not just not flowing, it's actually getting worse. I mean, there are reports from UN agencies that show not only did the situation not improve in recent times, it significantly disimproved.
So
I have a question.
What?
We did a story, or I might have not been here. It was a key we might have not got to, but I think he's the newer prime minister because wasn't Ireland just in the middle of trying to pass a law where they can go in your house and take your computer for tweets? Do you remember that?
Yeah, they were trying. They were trying to do some nefarious stuff in that regard for sure, but I don't think they did. The government.
The guy left. Okay.
The government in recent days announced Ireland would join South Africa's case against Israel at the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, in The Hague, which accuses Israel of committing a genocide. Taoiseach and Foreign Affairs Minister Michael Martin confirmed there are no plans to close Ireland's embassy in Israel. So Ireland and Israel will continue to maintain diplomatic relations. Inherent in that is the right to agree and disagree on fundamental points. There are no plans to close Ireland's embassy in Israel, which is carrying out important work. Israel's ambassador to Ireland, someone named Dana Ehrlich, said that the move to close the Israel embassy was made in response to a growing incitement and hatred towards anything Israel.
Oh, I know what this is. So those riots they had when that Muslim guy stabbed some girl and then a bunch of people went out and rioted. So Israel displaces people with their bullshit. Guess where they've been ending up? In Ireland.
That's right.
So there's a bunch of angry Arabs there now. It's not Irish being anti-Israeli. All the people they're going to push out of their homes and guess where they're going to go? To the UK. That's their plan. And they're going to be hostile to Israel.
On whether the same steps would be taken against Spain or Norway, who also recognized Palestinian statehood earlier this year, Ms. Ehrlich, the Israeli ambassador to Ireland, said, "We see Ireland in a more extreme stance than any other country." She said Israel made the decision to close the embassy in order to recalculate our efforts and our resources to a country that does want to broaden engagement with Israel, and ruled out that this would include steps that would see the closure of the Irish embassy in Tel Aviv. She also claimed that there is for lack of a better word, an obsession with anti-Israel steps in Ireland, which are not about pro-peace, but about isolating Israel. Oh, my God. Every last poor me victim trick in the book They're saying, we're being picked on. Israel's the one being picked on.
Well, your disgruntled victims had to move to Ireland, and guess what? They're a little testy. What do you want? That's your doing.
Every last poor me victim trick is blowing up like a Tesla in a car wash.
Do they do that? I didn't know that.
We're not anti-Israel. We're not anti-Jewish. We're not anti-Semitic. We simply have concerns, and we're opposed to certain aspects of Israeli government policy. I mean, if someone criticizes Ireland for some particular diplomatic move we've made, it doesn't mean they're anti-Irish. Of course it doesn't.
Don't say that in Boston.
But that's Israel's go-to is you're an anti-Semite if you criticize them.
Yeah, it's a cheap trick. I mean, some people, you can't do it on me because I'm too close to too many Jews for too long that you could pull that off. But RFK, for example, is deathly afraid of being labeled anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Oh, yes. He has an allergy to it.
Some people flare up.
I'm American, but that doesn't mean I go along with everything America does, because that would actually be anti-American. And if you don't get that, you're not an American.
Yeah. I am questioning the idea of Judeo-Christian values that I've heard pushed for over 20 years by your Ben Shapiro types, because it seems like Judeo-Islamo values are closer than Christian, and like some Zionist horseshit that's been put on us for many years. Judeo-Christian.
If I don't go along with everything the American government does, that doesn't make me anti-American. It actually makes me American. But now anti-Irish, well, that's different because, Kurt, everybody knows they're just a bunch of troublemakers and drunks. The only white men who managed to become slaves during the 1800s.
Yeah.
That's the luck of the Irish for you right there.
I mean, I am anti-Irish. I hope I made that clear.
Well, I'm actually Irish. People think
I'm like Bill the Butcher from that Gangs of New York. Like he allowed Leo DiCaprio into his gang, even though he was from that excretious isle, as he called it.
I mean, the Israelis, people who are Zionists and Israeli, they're like, they don't understand where all the animosity and hatred of Israel's coming from, and that maybe we should take an example. They're like the guy with his pants at his ankles and blood coming out of his nose, wondering why won't any taxis pick me up?
Yeah. Well, no, Israelis know why. It's the APAC propagandized America and Canada kind of Jews that are like Dottie Sandusky. Like they're the wife, the submissive role to the macho Israeli. The macho Israelis have to do what a man has to do, and they know the killing they're doing. But here in America, you don't hear Israeli news, which is remarkably honest compared to American news about Israel. Quite blatant, in fact, about what they do.
Hey, come see us do live shows January 3rd in Los Angeles, Honolulu after that, Baltimore, Maryland, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.